When we think of a perfect world, like a true utopia, we usually picture the total elimination of suffering.
Right.
Just imagine it for a second. A society where there's absolutely no war.
No poverty either.
Exactly. No poverty, no hunger. Nobody is ever lonely, and no one ever feels physical or emotional pain.
Sounds like a dream, honestly.
It really does. But then, you look a little closer at the fine print of this social contract. To get that perfect world, you have to trade away a few things.
Just a few minor details.
Right. You give up color, you give up changes in the weather, you give up the right to choose your own job or your own spouse.
Which is huge.
Yeah. And ultimately, you have to give up love. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are exploring the factual events and profound societal structures documented in Lois Lowry's The Giver.
I'm really looking forward to this one.
Same here. Our mission today is to unpack a community that has achieved this flawless peace, but at a really chilling cost. So to you listening right now, ask yourself what you would actually be willing to trade for absolute safety.
That underlying trade-off is, well, it's the very foundation of the source material we are examining today. We're looking at a highly regulated community governed by a concept they literally just call sameness.
Sameness, yeah.
And for those of us familiar with the text, it's easy to focus on the narrative of Jonas, the protagonist. But the true horror of this society lies in its systemic architecture.
The way it's built from the ground up.
Exactly. Every single citizen's life is meticulously assigned and monitored by the Committee of Elders.
They control everything.
Literally everything. From the family unit you are placed into as a new child to the lifelong career you're assigned at the ceremony of 12, it's all decided for you.
And the goal there is just maximum efficiency, right?
Efficiency and zero conflict. They have successfully eradicated the messy, unpredictable variables of human nature.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we can fully grasp why Jonas eventually shatters this system, we first have to understand the seductive yet totally suffocating safety of the world he was born into.
It is seductive, yeah.
Right. Living in this community is like living in a perfectly temperature-controlled, beige, padded room.
That's a great way to put it.
You'll never scrape your knee, but you'll also never feel the wind on your face. And the mechanism they use to build this padded room really starts with language.
Oh, the language control is terrifying.
It is. We all remember the community's obsession with precision of language. But looking at it through a sociological lens, it's a masterclass in control. I mean, if you control the vocabulary, you completely control the boundaries of thought.
What's fascinating here is how early and aggressively that linguistic determinism is applied. It isn't just a cultural preference for good grammar.
No, not at all.
It is conditioned into the citizens from the time they're toddlers, often through actual physical pain.
Right, like the Asher incident.
Exactly. Take the incident with Jonas's friend Asher. As a 3-year-old, he scrambled his words at the child care center and asked for his morning smack instead of his snack.
Which is just a normal kid mistake.
Totally normal. But the punishment wasn't a gentle correction. A child care specialist used a discipline wand, which is like a thin, flexible weapon that stings, and literally struck him across the hands.
A 3-year-old.
Yes. And when the toddler inevitably made the mistake again, the punishment escalated to sharper strikes on his bare legs.
Oh, wow.
To the point where Asher actually stopped speaking entirely for a period of time. The system literally beat the margin of error out of a child.
And it works.
Yeah.
That's the terrifying part of it. By the time these citizens are older, their language is entirely sanitized of any extreme emotion.
Yeah, everything is neutralized.
Like later on, Asher apologizes to his class for being late, explaining he got distraught watching the hatchery crew separate salmon.
Right, the salmon.
And the instructor publicly corrects him, pointing out that distraught is far too strong an adjective for salmon viewing. He's told to use distracted.
Everything has to be kept mild.
Exactly. They don't just police the words. They police the emotional capacity of the citizens. I mean, you can't feel a 10 out of 10 emotion if your vocabulary legally caps out at a 4.
That is so true.
And they take this same militant approach to human biology, too. Like when Jonas has his first dream about his friend Fiona and experiences a deep, natural wanting to be close to her.
The community does not ignore that.
No. His mother, matter-of-factly, identifies it as his first stirrings and just hands him a pill. A daily pill that every single citizen takes to completely chemicalize and suppress all deep romantic or sexual emotions.
It is entirely about eliminating the danger of choice.
Right.
If you allow people to feel overwhelming passion, you introduce irrationality. If people were allowed to choose their own mates based on something as volatile as love, they might choose poorly.
And that causes problems for the state.
Exactly. That leads to heartbreak, jealousy, divorce, and social instability. If they choose their own jobs, they might pick something they're terrible at, leading to economic inefficiency.
So they just remove the choice entirely.
By removing the biological drive and the freedom of choice, the Committee of Elders removes the possibility of a citizen making a mistake. Safety is completely prioritized over freedom.
But, no matter how many pills you mandate or how strictly you police adjectives, you can't completely breed out human genetics.
Nature always finds a way.
Right. The flawless facade of sameness has a structural vulnerability, and that vulnerability is Jonas. This system just cannot entirely eliminate perceptive anomalies.
Jonas is physically different from the start.
He is. He has these pale eyes that seem to have depth, unlike the dark eyes of almost everyone else in the community.
And he shares that trait with the new child, Gabriel, right?
Yeah, Gabriel, whom his father, who is a nurturer, brings home at night for extra care. But the real anomaly is in Jonas's perception. His brain is somehow breaking through the sameness.
He starts seeing things.
Fleeting, inexplicable changes in objects. Like an apple he's tossing midair with, Asher suddenly shifts for a fraction of a second. His friend Fiona's hair changes.
The faces in the crowd at the auditorium change, too.
Yeah. We find out later he is literally beginning to see the color red.
And the elders, with their constant surveillance, they recognize this perceptive anomaly. They understand that Jonas possesses the capacity to, quote, see beyond.
Which leads to that wildly uncomfortable ceremony of 12.
Oh, that agonizing sequence.
Hmm.
The chief elder skips Jonas's number entirely. They call 18, then 20, leaving Jonas, who is number 19, sitting there in absolute horror.
He thinks he's ruined his life.
He is convinced he has committed some unspeakable disgrace. But when they finally call him to the stage at the very end, they announce he hasn't been assigned a normal role.
Right. He is selected as the next receiver of memory.
And the instructions he is given for this role are designed to systematically sever him from the rest of the community.
They isolate him immediately.
Totally. He is suddenly exempted from rules governing rudeness. He is prohibited from sharing his dreams. He is denied any pain medication for injuries related to his training.
That one is brutal.
It is. And most profoundly, he is given a single world-altering permission. You may lie.
Okay, wait. I struggle with this specific rule.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, wait. For a kid whose entire society, his entire psychological foundation, is built on extreme honesty and precision of language, doesn't being told you may lie instantly shatter his trust in every adult around him?
It absolutely does.
Like, how does he know his own parents aren't lying to him?
Yeah.
It just feels like the elders intentionally dropped a bomb on his sanity.
They did, in a way. The rule forces Jonas into an immediate, irreversible state of psychological isolation.
He can't trust anyone anymore.
Right. He realizes that his perception of truth, his very reality, is fundamentally different from the rest of the community. He can never trust the surface level of his society again.
Man, that is heavy for a 12-year-old.
It is, but this isolation is a prerequisite for the burden he is about to take on. The receiver must hold truths that the community simply cannot handle. He has to exist outside the established boundaries of sameness.
Which means he can no longer be a true part of the community he's actually serving. Which brings us to the annex room, where he goes for his training. He meets the current receiver, who tells Jonas to call him the Giver.
A great title.
Yeah, and immediately the environment itself signals that Jonas has crossed into a totally different dimension. The door to the annex has a lock on it.
Which it's unheard of.
Right. Think about that. In a society based on total transparency and surveillance, a locked door is a massive anomaly.
And the wall speaker has an OFF switch.
Yes.
Yeah.
The speaker that broadcasts announcements and constantly monitors citizens everywhere else, he can just turn it off. And the room is filled with thousands of books, whereas Jonas had previously only seen like 3 reference books in his entire life.
The annex is essentially a quarantine zone for reality.
Oh, I like that phrase.
Well, the elders realized that to maintain this flawless illusion of a utopian present, they couldn't just delete history, they had to contain it.
Right, lock it away in one person.
Exactly. The Giver explains that his role is to transmit the memories of the whole world to Jonas. Not just personal memories, but the collective, ancestral memory of humanity.
going back centuries.
Generations back and back, before sameness, before climate control optimized the agricultural cycles. And the transmission process requires profound vulnerability.
Because it's physical.
Yes, Jonas lies face down, and the giver places his bare hands on Jonas's back, transferring the experiences directly into Jonas's consciousness.
And the initial transmissions are just intoxicating. Jonas feels the bracing shock of cold air. He sees a whirling torrent of snow.
Things he's never even imagined.
Right. He experiences the breathless glee of rushing down a hill on a sled and the warming beauty of sunshine.
But it doesn't stay pleasant for long.
No. The chief elder wasn't lying when she warned him his training would involve indescribable pain. To hold the memories of humanity, you have to hold the entire spectrum.
The dark stuff.
The darkest stuff. The giver transmits the sharp sting of a sunburn. Then, a memory of steering that same sled on hard, bluish ice, losing control, and feeling the hot, hatchet-like slice of a shattered leg bone. Yeah, and then he experiences the agonizing, visceral grief of an elephant roaring into an empty landscape after its mate has been poached for its tusks.
That scene is heartbreaking.
It really is. And, eventually, the absolute horror of warfare. Jonas finds himself on a smoke-filled battlefield giving water to a boy his own age whose gray uniform is soaked in blood, just watching the life literally fade from the boy's eyes.
It is an unbearable weight.
So I have to ask, why does society operate this way? Why does Jonas have to hold this? Why can't the community just share the memories so one person doesn't have to suffer so intensely? It seems incredibly cruel and, frankly, risky to put all that pressure on a single 12-year-old boy.
It's deeply utilitarian. The community wants the wisdom that comes from history, but they absolutely refuse to carry the suffering required to earn it.
They want the shortcut.
Exactly. The giver provides a perfect example of how this works in practice. Years ago, the Committee of Elders considered increasing the population by giving each birth mother 4 children instead of 3, simply to create more laborers.
Which sounds logical on paper.
It seemed like a logical, efficient idea, but they consulted the giver, because he held the centuries-old memories of overpopulation, mass starvation, and the brutal warfare that inevitably followed a lack of resources. He advised against it.
Ah, so they use him as a consultant.
Yes. The community gets the benefit of his historical wisdom, and they avoid the disaster. The receiver acts as a human shield, absorbing the agony of humanity's past so the citizens can remain comfortably numb in the present.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because experiencing that past fundamentally rewires Jonas's humanity. He discovers concepts the community has systematically eradicated.
Like love.
Like love. The giver transfers his favorite memory to Jonas, a family Christmas.
Yeah.
A room radiating with the warmth of a fireplace, colored lights, grandparents, and a deep, unspoken bond.
A beautiful scene.
It is. And through this, Jonas learns the word and the very concept of love. And the contrast between that rich, vibrant memory and the sterile reality of his own life becomes a breaking point for him.
He can't unsee it.
No. He goes home and asks his parents a simple question. He says, "Do you love me?"
And their reaction to that question exposes the terrifying void at the center of their society.
They laugh at him.
They don't just say no, they actually chuckle. They reprimand him for using a generalized, obsolete, and what they literally call meaningless word.
Meaningless.
Yes, they instruct him to ask if they enjoy him or take pride in his accomplishments.
Right then, Jonas uses his new permission. He lies. He tells them he understands.
But he doesn't agree at all.
No, internally, he realizes his family is completely hollow. They were just biological units performing assigned roles. They're programmed. So he makes a quiet, profound rebellion. He stops taking his stirrings pill.
He chooses to feel.
He allows himself to feel. And secretly, at night, when the fretful new child Gabriel is crying, Jonas starts transmitting calming memories to the baby to help him sleep. He's sharing the burden, acting outside the rules of his assignment.
And this expanding emotional depth puts Jonas on a direct collision course with the darkest mechanical reality of his society.
Oh, the release.
Yes, the philosophical awakening turns into sheer horror during the climax of his training. Jonas asks the giver about release.
Because his dad had mentioned it.
Right, his father had mentioned casually that he was performing a release that morning on one of a set of identical twins. Jonas, thinking it's just a relocation to another community, asks to see the video recording kept in the Hall of Closed Records.
And the scene in that video is chilling. Jonas watches his father take the smaller twin, weighing just 5 pounds, 10 ounces.
A tiny baby.
Tiny. His father talks to the baby in this sweet, comforting, sing-song voice. He takes out a syringe filled with clear liquid, and then he injects the needle directly into a vein in the newborn's scalp.
It's so hard to read.
The baby jerks, goes limp, and dies. And his father casually packs the tiny body into a carton, drops it down a trash chute, and cheerfully says, "Bye-bye, little guy."
It's horrifying.
Watching his father perform this execution is so profoundly disturbing, precisely because it is entirely devoid of malice. It's like watching a friendly IT guy cheerfully wipe a hard drive, except the hard drive is a human life. It's the ultimate banality of evil.
This raises an important question, one that strikes at the very core of how we understand ethics. How can we judge the father's morality in this situation?
I mean, he just murdered a baby.
He did. But the giver tells a devastated Jonas they know nothing.
Right.
Without the historical context of memory, the community has absolutely no concept of death, no concept of pain, and no concept of murder. His father isn't acting out of cruelty or hatred.
He's just doing his job.
He is merely following the standard operating procedure of his assignment. Because they know nothing, they feel no guilt. The elders have successfully stripped away the moral weight of taking a life by removing the emotional vocabulary needed to understand it.
But Jonas knows. He now has the vocabulary, the memory, and the context. And that revelation makes it impossible for him to ever return to his dwelling.
He's totally broken by it.
He breaks down in the annex room, sobbing, refusing to go home to a man who murders babies. From this point forward, the narrative abruptly shifts from a philosophical exploration of a flawed utopia to a desperate physical fight for survival.
Because they have to do something. And the giver reveals a vital piece of history that forces their hand. 10 years prior, the previous receiver in training was a young woman named Rosemary.
I remember this part.
Heartbreakingly, we learned she was actually the giver's own daughter. After just 5 weeks of receiving relatively mild memories of loneliness, loss, and poverty, the psychological weight broke her.
It was too much for her.
She went directly to the chief elder, applied for release, and actually injected herself.
Wow.
When she died, the memories she had received were untethered, flooding back into the consciousness of the community. The citizens, having never experienced raw emotion or pain, were thrown into mass panic.
So Jonas and the giver synthesized this failure into a radical plan. Jonas is going to escape to elsewhere, the unknown land beyond the community's borders.
That's the goal.
If he gets far enough away, his entire year's worth of deep, intense memories will return to the community. It will force them to feel, to understand pain and love and history. They won't have a choice.
And the giver stays behind.
Right. He refuses to go with him, stating he must stay behind to help the citizens navigate the ensuing chaos and agony. And then finally, he wants to be released to be with his daughter, Rosemary.
It is a brilliant, sacrificial strategy designed to break the cycle of sameness. But that meticulously crafted plan shatters that very evening.
It completely falls apart. Jonas is sitting at the evening meal with his family, forcing himself to act normal, when his father casually mentions that the baby, Gabriel, was sent back to the nurturing center for the night.
Because he was crying.
Yeah, Gabriel cried all night long. The staff was frazzled, so they held a vote. The decision was unanimous. Gabriel is scheduled to be released first thing the next morning.
Which means death. Jonas is stripped of any time to prepare. The philosophical mission to save the community is instantly superseded by the urgent, visceral need to save one specific child's life.
So he acts immediately. He commits massive, unforgivable transgressions. He flees his dwelling in the dead of night. He steals leftover food from neighbors' doorsteps.
He steals his father's bicycle, too.
Specifically because it has a child seat attached to the back, and he kidnaps Gabriel. What follows is a grueling, terrifying journey that tests the absolute limits of the human endurance Jonas has only ever experienced through memories.
The community does not let them go easily. They are actively hunted.
Right, planes, right.
Search planes fly low over the landscape, equipped with advanced heat-seeking devices designed to track body warmth. Whenever Jonas hears the hum of the engines, he dives into the thick brush, clutches Gabriel to his chest, and actively transmits his memories of freezing snow and biting cold into the baby.
To lower their temperature.
Yes, he forces their core body temperatures to drop just enough to evade the thermal sensors.
He is literally using the history of humanity as a thermal blanket to hide them.
That's a great metaphor.
But, as they pedal further and further away from the community, the physical landscape begins to mirror Jonas's internal transformation. The meticulously flat, paved roads of sameness become narrow, bumpy dirt paths.
Nature takes over.
They encounter thick, dark forests, The perfectly level land begins to rise into arduous hills, and Jonas starts to experience real physical pain in his own life, not just an echo from a transmission.
Actual suffering.
Yeah. He falls off the bike, twists his ankle, scrapes his knees raw, and they're slowly starving to death. I find this to be the most profound irony of the entire text. Jonas actively runs away from a community where he would never, ever experience physical harm or a moment of hunger directly into a wild landscape where he is starving, exhausted, and bleeding. He chooses the suffering.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is the ultimate realization of Jonas's character arc and the central thesis of the book.
How so?
Jonas has willingly traded the artificial safety of a numb existence for the painful, unfiltered reality of freedom. Inside the boundaries of the community, he was designated as a receiver of memories. He was a passive vessel.
Yeah.
But out here in the unforgiving wild, absorbing the physical pain of the journey, protecting Gabriel at all costs, and giving away his precious memories of warmth and food just to keep the baby alive, Jonas transcends his assignment. He is no longer the receiver. He truly becomes a giver.
Wow. So what does this all mean for you listening today? Why does a deep dive into this fictional dystopian society matter for us?
It's highly relevant.
I think it serves as a stark, necessary reminder that the messy, painful, unpredictable parts of our lives are exactly what give our joy, our love, and our freedom their actual value. You cannot selectively numb the bad without also numbing the good. A life perfectly shielded from pain, perfectly controlled and anticipated, is a life shielded from humanity itself.
I would leave you with this final thought to mull over. In the world of the giver, memories are the sole source of wisdom, empathy, and moral weight. The community lost their humanity the moment they decided the past was too painful to carry.
Yeah.
What happens to a real-world society like ours if we start actively trying to sanitize, rewrite, or forget our own painful history? If we choose to delete our past simply to make ourselves more comfortable in the present, do we risk becoming just like Jonas's community?
Trading away our color, our depth, and our capacity to love, just to live safely in a beige room. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.